All right. All right, everybody, we're going to get started. So, welcome. Before we do get started, though, I wanted to go over a couple of real quick housekeeping items. So, everybody, my name is Tony Saramatis with Truly Wow. We are ARA's marketing and communications partner. And welcome to ARA's continuing education webinar series for January 2025 for the new year. We've got a couple of amazing guests, one whose face you'll probably know, and one you probably won't. Either way, I guarantee with you're going to walk away from this hour armed with some pretty powerful hiring tips. So, a couple of housekeeping items. I thought I had everybody on mute, but apparently I didn't. So I think I do now, just to try to keep background noise to a minimum. But we definitely encourage you to ask questions. We've set aside about 20 minutes at the tail end for Q&A. We're probably, unless Q&A goes longer than 20 minutes, we're probably going to have you out of here before the full hour is up. So we'll be able to give you a few minutes back at the tail end. If you want to ask a question, please use the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen and type it in. We use the Q&A button instead of the chat because it helps us keep track of the questions, keep them in order, and just to make sure that they all get answered. So now I'd like to introduce you to someone you're probably familiar with, Mr. Jeremy Cross, the CEO of International Recovery Systems and an ecstatic Eagles fan. Jeremy's going to introduce our main guest for today, Kendall Klein, who is IRS's rock star HR manager. So, Jeremy, it's all yours. Take it away.
Well, thanks, Tony. And to that point, I'd like to start out by saying, "Go Birds," of course, right? Uh, no, I guess the genesis of this presentation really came from over the last couple of years in a lot of social settings. The main topic is, hey, where are you finding people? How are you recruiting people? How are you onboarding people? No matter what industry you're in or whatever, we all seem to be having a similar issue. But especially in the repossession industry, it's really tough to find good people, and it's tough to keep good people. We have a lot of challenges in front of us. We're not an industry that's well known, and we're not an industry that's particularly sexy. Um, so we have to be creative in how we source our
That
staff.
is correct.
And one of the things that always comes up in these
Ken,
conversations
let me make
are,
some notes here. Yep, let me.
oh, it seems like somebody might be talking.
I got you.
Okay. One of the things that comes up in all the conversations and the questions is, what is one company doing over another company that might be a good investment? And I will tell you, I offered to bring Kendall, um, who is our IRS's HR manager, um, who actually helped us grow our HR department since she's been with us. It started out with her, and now she has a team of three people that work for her. And what brought that um, role to our company was a bit of advice that I got from someone outside our industry, was investing in your people and people coming into your organization is worth more than any investment for any tool or truck or spotter car or camera. Um, the dividends pay greater in the long run. And to that point, the investment into Kendall and what she has done for IRS has paid off in leaps and bounds. So um, I want to bring her in front of everybody here and allow her to share some of the things that she's developed while with our company, and maybe you guys can take some things away from that and apply them to your company as well. So, without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to Kendall um, from IRS, and I'll let her take it away.
Thanks, Jeremy. Thank you, Tony, also and ARA for this opportunity to share international recovery systems best hiring practices. So let's get started. My name is Kendall. I have over 6 years of experience within recruiting and human resources. I have worked for various corporate structures, various industries, including agency recruiting. I joined the IRS team back in 2021, like Jeremy said. And in my role then, I balanced both recruiting and HR generalist responsibilities. During my time here, I've implemented best hiring practices and I've improved the company standards in creating various policies and procedures. Since 2021, like we said, I've doubled the HR team, specifically over the last 2 years, bringing on 2 full-time recruiters. And we also have a fleet and learning specialist to help support the business's ever-growing needs. Today, together, we've increased the total headcount from when I've started over 75%. So today I'm going to share with you what's worked best for us and in hopes it helps you and your team. Diving right in, what is the problem? Like we said, we've all agreed it's hiring everywhere, every industry, any position. Anytime you go out to the store or out to dinner, you'll see we're hiring signs. So I don't believe the hiring problem is specific to the repossession industry, but we'll go further into that now. So let's get down to the root cause of the hiring problem within the repossession industry. The unemployment rate is lower than it's been over the last couple of years at 4.2%. Finding quality candidates that meet our industry needs has been proven challenging, whether it's their clean driving record that needs to meet our insurance standards, but also just even completing the pre-employment screenings. The repossession industry is unknown to most and has a perceived element of risk that not every candidate will be attracted to. Finding the quality candidates, industry related specifically, no, like I said, anywhere you go, you'll see we're hiring. The employees will tell you we're short staffed. So be patient with us. So I don't believe it's industry specific. However, the repossession industry is not your traditional employment opportunity. We have industry standards that we're obligated to follow based off our clients' requirements, and your expectations for those roles must be met. What are the requirements for your roles if you're thinking about the positions that you currently have open? Are your requirements excessive, or do they need to be beefed up a little bit? Will be imperative when you're finding the quality candidates that you're looking for. We're looking for someone who can work independently, someone who is willing to take a little bit more risk based off the position itself. You may be asking yourself what is find and fill? So find and fill is an industry term where you're not necessarily vetting the candidate, you're just filling them because you have an open role and you need someone in that role regardless of their experience. All of these play into the next question. Is it us? Thinking about your expectations, like I said, for the roles that you have available, are your expectations too low or too high? This is one role. This could be one role that you're making into 2 or 3 roles, combining the needs of your business just because you can't find anyone. So identifying if it's 1 role or 2 roles needed will absolutely help you. Making your job descriptions and making sure that they stay up to date based off the industry standards will also help you when you're finding these candidates. Having those templates and a place to start is always better than starting from scratch. So when you're putting these job descriptions together, who is doing that? Are you as the owner putting them together? Are you currently in that role, or have you done that role in the past? Do you know what's needed for that role specifically? It's always best to have the employees or your team members who are actively in that role provide input as well. Think about where you're marketing your roles. Are you posting them to job sites, Facebook, or just on your company website? Think about the candidate's perspective when they're scrolling through hundreds of job descriptions or job openings, trying to see what to apply for. Is your position filled with industry jargon, or is it overwhelming with the responsibilities that are listed? Figure out if it's a turnover issue as well. Are you seeing high turnover company-wide? Is it a specific department or a specific role? Whether someone leaves voluntarily or not, it might be something to dive deeper in if it continues. As individuals that have the authority to make the decisions within your company, self-reflection is key to growing a strong business. Now, piggybacking off of is it us or is it them? Importance of the company brand. How can people view your company page? Is it a company website? Do you have a Facebook page for your company, or is it just your personal Facebook page? Same thing with LinkedIn. Do you have a company profile, or do you just have your individual profile? Indeed also offers a platform where you can brand your own campaign. With these platforms, you have the Meta or the Google Analytics now to track who is seeing your pages and how much traffic you're really getting overall as well. That way you can target individuals, whether it's clients or candidates specifically, based on that. Your website should paint a clear picture of what you do. Ultimately, you're soliciting your services to future employees, but also future clients. With your company page, there's also that social media presence. This can be both positive and negatively impacting your business overall. Candidates today are millennials and Gen Zs. They live on social media. You know, they're looking up your company before they apply potentially, but they're also looking up the reviews and your company's interactions. Are your current employees posting negative interactions or situations that they're encountering? And ultimately, how is it impacting your presence as a company? Why do people want to work for you? Is it something that you're offering to the employees? Because each candidate sells you their time. Why should they sell you their time? Is it the benefits that you offer? Is it your PTO, your training program? Is it, do you have a mentorship program, or just the ability to grow within the company? So starting at the beginning of recruiting, here's the 6 steps of the full cycle recruiting. We're going to go over preparing, identifying your need, sourcing various candidates, screening and the interview process, selecting and offering the role, hiring, and finally onboarding. Preparing. Creating the job and identifying your need. Is this a new role or an existing role? Are you looking for an office role, or are you looking for someone to clean out cars on the lot? These positions are 2 separate candidate profiles. One is clerical and one is light industrial. There's also a different profile for our drivers or field agents that would fall under the transportation. Identifying the required experience will help disqualify candidates that are not a fit. This is where your accurate job descriptions are key. And at this point, you can add or take away different responsibilities based off your need, but also update it to the current market or the industry standard. But both should be painting a clear picture of the company, but also the role and what they will be doing. How you can keep track of these candidates, whether you have one job or 15. An applicant tracking system is a great way to store the candidates' resumes, store your job description templates, templates that you email to the candidates. But also you can keep everything organized based off that job. So if you have a candidate apply, you can have them attached to that job so that you can reference that at any time. You can see if they've applied previously, if you've talked to them. You can review any notes that you have on them as well. And you can also review the hiring manager's feedback. Applicant tracking systems are great, and they do all of the organization for you. So when you're having 15, 16 jobs, talking to hundreds of candidates, it's something that you can always reference. The applicant tracking system will also start the pre-employment screenings and even create offer letters for you. So you may be maintaining your records manually today. However, it may be more efficient time-wise to invest in a platform that's out there today. Sourcing and finding candidates. Don't just rely on your job posts. Attend local job fairs, community events as well. That way you can promote your brand and talk to just individuals out there. Being a part of your local community will help get awareness. One, we're in the repossession industry, so we're not all scary, but it just gets you out into that community. Creating a candidate bench or a candidate pool is something that you should always do. However, you always want to keep an eye out for great talent, even if you're not actively hiring for a position. So having those resumes come in, even if you don't have an active position open, if there's someone with experience, reach out to them, talk to them, see what they're looking for, and if it aligns with what you're looking for in the future. Here at this point, when you're not actively hiring, you do have to be very transparent with the candidate so that they're not following up with you every day. But two, being transparent will also want to allow them to trust in your ability once a position becomes available. So referrals are huge. You might not always be the one finding the candidates yourselves. Some of the candidates will come from employee referrals. This is a big source for us specifically, and you can receive great candidates because the best referrals come from current happy employees. Your team will talk about what they enjoy about their position and ultimately what they do here, which preps that candidate to have a better understanding when you speak to them. It's all spread by word of mouth, which is free recruiting and free marketing for you. Throughout the candidate selection process, as well as the interview process, there are a couple different steps that you need to take. Designate a team. Identify who will be part of that hiring team or the main point of contact to represent your company. As the owner, you're very busy. You may not have time to follow up and follow the full hiring process, which could lead to missing key steps of the interview process. I believe it's best for the candidate to interview with the person who is in that role or has been in that role most recently. So even if you're not involved, together you and that designated person can create an interview flow. Here at IRS, this is our process. We have a phone screen, a Zoom interview, and an in-person interview with the hiring manager. So after reviewing the resumes that come in, you could get 50 to 60 resumes, and you could only be reaching out to 15 to 25 for a phone interview or a phone screen. If you call them, they don't answer, no worries, just follow up with a voicemail and an email. Never complete phone screens through email though. You always want to get them live. So during these 15 to 20-minute phone calls, you're giving a brief overview of the company, the role they applied to, giving salary expectations, and the hours required for this position. This will determine if they're still interested in the role, but you can also get a sense if they're currently working. If they are interested in your position after hearing your brief overview, schedule them for a Zoom interview and next steps during that call. Also, you can provide additional screenings for the next steps, whether it's an MVR check or a candidate assessment. If they seem unsure while they're on the phone with you, put it back on the candidate. Tell them to follow up with you by the end of the week if it's something that you're still interested in. If they do reach out and say they're interested, review the role with them again, and I would move forward with discretion. From the phone screen, you can move into the Zoom interviews. So when you're on the phone screen, you're scheduling that Zoom interview for a couple days out. And from those 15 to 25 phone screens, you could schedule probably 7 to 10 Zoom interviews. The Zoom interview should be about 30 minutes to 45 minutes, depending on the role. But this is where you get to know more about your candidate. Review their work experience. Make sure you have a standard of how many prior employers you review. Inquire about the position, the responsibilities that they had, and the shift that they worked. And I would also inquire about why they left that role and what they're looking for in a new role. During this process, don't be afraid to ask probing questions. If something's not lining up, for example, if they left a role due to low pay, but they didn't have anything lined up. So they left a role getting paid for nothing. So they're not getting paid. That I would ask another probing question and see if that's what actually happened or if something else transpired that they're not voluntarily sharing. Otherwise, if everything lines up, you can move forward with an in-person interview with your hiring manager. Throughout those 5 to 7 Zooms, you may only schedule 2 to 3, maybe 4 in-person interviews with that hiring manager. That's okay. These should be the rock stars of that group. During the in-person interviews, it's best to show the candidate their prospective work environment. So we always have the candidates go to that location. This also provides a peek into to what they would do on a daily basis, and also give that candidate a trial of that daily commute. Sometimes during the in-person interview, they realize maybe I'm not up for this commute every day. I thought it was a lot shorter than it was. But the in-person interview with the hiring manager can go over the few different platforms and really show what they would be doing every day. The hiring manager also provides a first-person perspective into that role and how they succeeded in that job maybe a year or 6 months ago. Once the in-person interview is complete, have the candidate follow up with you. Ask how they think it went and if they can see themselves within this role. On the other side, the hiring manager is going to provide feedback. Say, yes, I'd like to move forward, or no, I would not like to move forward because of the commute, or he didn't seem interested, or whatever the case may be. Having the candidate follow up with you after the in-person interview sets an expectation of you need to follow up with me so that we can move forward with next steps. If they don't follow up with you, maybe they forgot, which is absolutely okay, but maybe they're just not interested and they don't know how to tell you. So that's always a touch base. Throughout this interview process, though, you always want to reflect on how the candidate's interacting with you. Are they being professional? Are they knowledgeable about your company? And are they engaged? The being engaged is a big one. Are they actually interested in your role? Do they just kind of want a job? It's it's tough when you're trying to sell someone your position, but they just don't seem interested. It's like a one-way street. You're talking to yourself. Um, Also through this process, if a candidate accepts another position, that's absolutely okay. Be upfront, tell them not to go radio silent on you. But same thing as the hiring team. Don't go radio silent on your candidate as well. Once you've identified a candidate and you'd like to extend an offer, um, do so. If the offer needs to be discussed with other parties within their family, no problem. Provide a 48-hour window that they need to get back to you. If you don't hear back within that 48 hours, I would say it's safe to say that they decline the offer and they just don't know how to tell you. If the candidate declines an offer, no problem. Take a look at the other candidates that went through that interview process, and you could potentially move forward with the next candidate if they successfully completed the interview process, but they're also a good fit. If they weren't a good fit, or if there's no one else that made it through the process, no problem. Take a look at the other resumes that come in. I suggest not closing the jobs until that person starts. That way you have a consistent flow of resumes coming in, even though you're through that interview process. If they accept the role, that's great. Provide them with a tentative start date so that they know either to put in their notice at their current employer or they can get prepared for their start date. Determine whether if it's either a week or 2 weeks out based off how much lead time your team needs to bring on a new employee. Additionally to the ATS or applicant tracking system, there's also an HR management system that can really bring everything together. The HR system can help with next steps in the process after the recruiting process is over. So let's get into those. The candidate's hired. You accepted, the offer is accepted. You've extended the pre-employment drug screening, background check, any other pre-employment screenings that need to happen. That is your time to do so. But just because they accepted the offer doesn't mean that that relationship is over. Continuing with our hiring standards, we created a onboarding checklist and timeline so that we stay on track and the new hire doesn't get lost in the shuffle. Each step of the onboarding checklist triggers the next stage of the candidate from the offer letter to their first day. So the new hire checklist. This is where you need to identify how long your team needs to get a new hire spun up, whether it's equipment, ordering equipment or ordering uniforms, or creating their credentials. You're literally getting everything together for their first day to be as complete as possible. Once they're clear to start, meaning they have successfully completed all the pre-employment screenings and they're ready for their first day, let them know. Let them know their first day details, where they're reporting to, what time they need to report, what also to bring to new hire orientation, and then how to dress. You don't want them to come dressed in a suit for their first day if they're going to the lots right after. Welcome to the team. It's their first day, very exciting, but also nerve-wracking. What are you doing on their first day? Here at IRS, we have orientation where they meet with our team. They get introduced to the office. They get a tour of the office. They get an in-depth, detailed presentation of the overall company and each position and how it reflects, and each position relies on each other. We also get them set up on their company equipment. So any of the logins, we troubleshoot if needed. But we want to make sure that they are able to get into their programs so that they're not out in the field, not knowing who to contact or what to do. During orientation, all equipment is also given. So like I said, the iPads, really anything that they need to do the job. Throughout orientation, Once it's completed, we go over any certifications that are needed after they're hired. So we do safe driving tests for our field agents, and then everyone completes their CCRS certification. We give a deadline of 2 weeks to all of our new hires. After their first day, it's not over, so don't forget about them. Make sure you do check-ins or touch bases. Identify who in the hiring team will be doing these check-ins and how often. Here we do check-ins after their first week, and then we also do check-ins at 60 days of employment and 90 days of employment. With these check-ins, we just ask how they're doing, how they're liking the role. We ask them if they need anything, whether it's equipment or if they're having issues with any of the login information. This is where you can intercept potential problems regarding training. If they have any questions on training or they feel they need to work on or train additionally in one area versus another. And it also can kind of give you an idea of how they're enjoying the company overall. Once they're hired, it's still not over. The employee retention is very important. Now that they're there, how can you keep them engaged and keep them happy? Not only does turnover impact the business productivity, but it also costs time, energy, and money. So let's chat about how you can retain them and what we do here at IRS. We provide everything that they need day one, everything that they need to do the job, whether it's gloves, lockout kits, iPads, printers. We try to think of everything so that they're not in a situation where they're not able to do their job because they don't have that equipment. We have a rotating fleet. The oldest vehicle is 3 years old. This prevents downtime due to major maintenance issues, which keeps the driver and the truck on the road longer. Uniforms day one, like I said, their equipment. Their uniforms are part of their equipment. They get shirts, hoodies, hats, coats. Recently, we've been doing winter gear as well as rain gear. And I know on the East Coast, we are been seeing single digits. So I'm sure they appreciated that winter gear. We celebrate their anniversary with us. So celebrating another great year together. We celebrate birthdays. We celebrate life milestones, big or small. And we've honestly created a continuing educational program for our employees so that if they want to further their education or obtain another certificate, we support it. We will pay for them to go get that education. We also attend local job fairs and we have our field staff come with us. We have volunteers so that they can speak to candidates that are interested in the roles they're in today. We've created detailed training expectations and as well as a schedule so that the new hires can self-monitor their progress in learning a new position. We also have expectations for our current employees once they're completed training. So everyone knows what is expected of them and they can self-monitor their progress. We do in-person trainings quarterly. We find it very important to get everyone together as frequent as possible. Because they're in an independent role, they don't see their coworkers every day as we do here in the office. So building that camaraderie and a team building environment has proven successful over the last couple years. We also do company sponsored events throughout the year. It's not just one time we see them. We have done summer baseball games, and then our biggest event is our annual Christmas party. Our Christmas party is big. Everyone from every market comes in, and we give awards and we have raffle prizes. It's honestly just nice to see everyone under one room. Throughout the year, we also invite feedback. A big thing that has been positive and negative that we do is communication. So with that, we created a monthly newsletter that provides company updates and gives team shout outs, any upcoming events. The biggest thing I would say would be our employee referral program. It's important to retain the employees that are here with us. It's the training, the time, and it could impact your business tremendously. Referral bonuses are paid to our employees, and we've actually increased the referral bonus to match the sign-on bonuses of new hires that we're bringing in. So don't be afraid to see what works best for you guys. This is what we do, and this is what works best for us. Here's everyone. We get everyone together, like I said. But here are some highlights over the past year that stick out. We've had in-person trainings from Renee at Harding Brooks. She spoke to our field team about defensive driving and our drivers about breach of peace. Where can you get started today? Improve your employer and candidate hiring experience. Define who's doing the hiring. Identify if you have written job descriptions for each role and see if they're up to date. Get your team to help you. Update those job descriptions to the industry, but also someone who is actually doing that role today. Create or define your own onboarding process. Make it a positive experience for both ends. Don't rush it, and make sure that the training is complete so that you and the candidate are set up for success long term. Reviewing your policies and procedures, make sure they're up to date, as well as compliance with the industry standards. This will ensure you're filling the role with the right candidate and not the other way around. And then, like I said, the referral program is big on our end. Implement a bonus for your urgent needs for the next 90 days. That way there's no commitment or no long-term investment. But it's a good way to test it out with your team and your market and see if it's something that you can implement long-term with your team and the industry as well. So, thank you.
All right. Kendall, that was awesome. So we've got a couple of questions queued up, but I had made this this comment in the chat, just that my biggest takeaway is that you have a very well-defined process, right?
Yes.
So if someone doesn't have a process as well-defined as this, how would you recommend they go about building out the process, like making it prioritizing what to implement first and then second and so on?
Yeah. So go back to the basics. Who's doing the hiring? Figure out how many times you're speaking to that candidate before you're bringing them in. Identify what you're looking for in that role is also a great way to start. The job descriptions. How can you hire someone that you don't know what you're hiring for? You're going to continuously go through that revolving door.
Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and hit on some of these questions. And guys, if you have a question, please go ahead and type it in the Q&A section. Let's start with Tyler. Tyler with Paramount. He asks, Kendall, from your experience, how would you describe the turnover rate in this industry compared to others you've worked in? And it's a multiple parter, so let's just start with that.
So, turnover, you're going to see turnover everywhere. Being as transparent as possible with the candidate will always benefit long term. I never want to have a candidate tell me, this is not what we discussed. Why am I in this role? So that just starts your process over. Um, I would say throughout my experience, you're going to get more turnover with the light industrial and the transport driver opportunities. The candidates are just a different type of candidate profile. A lot of them may just jump because someone's offering a dollar or two more.
Mm. Yeah, that's the reality of things. Just to kind of piggyback on that, and I'll get back to the rest of Tyler's question here in a second.
Mm-hmm,
But I'm wondering, you'd mentioned that the unemployment rate's at 4.2%, which is,
mm-hmm,
which is low, but there's also a whole bunch of people, like a whole bunch of people that have removed themselves from the workforce, and that's not
mm-hmm.
taken into account.
Right.
So it seems as though, even though like there's more at play than just everybody's got a job.
Mm-hmm.
But
Absolutely. Some people just don't want to work. Specifically after COVID, people are afraid to return to in person.
mhm,
Uh, but the business needs are the business needs.
yeah. Okay, so back to Tyler's question, do you find it, I think you've already answered that, to be higher or lower than the other industries, the turnover rate?
Mm-hmm.
What is there a turnover ratio that you typically aim for or consider healthy?
I always aimed for 35%. Right now, our new hire turnover rate is a little bit higher than I would like. We're identifying, is it the process? Is it just the the type of candidate that we're looking for? We're actually looking to have our key people within that role take assessments to see what type of attributes the candidate should have to be successful in that role.
Great. Um, Mark Lasik, what about specific qualifiers for employment, certifications, driver history, employment history, convictions, experience?
Yeah. So I always say our entry level jobs are not always entry level. Our most entry level role is at the lot. However, you need a lot of attention to detail to do those jobs because you don't want them releasing vehicles that should not be released. They're also doing heavy labor throughout that. Um, so regarding pre-employment screening, so drug screen background check, we implemented negative dilute is not a positive or negative. So if someone comes back negative dilute, they have to retake their drug screening. Are they going to continue to take it 5, 6 times? No, because that's costing your company money, but also the time to complete that process is also can be long. So they have 2 times to complete it. If it comes back negative or negative dilute again, we have to see what our next options are depending on that. Background check requirements, we do have company standards for background checks. It's something that I implemented when I first started, just as a guideline, because you having a team of three, you have to have some type of standard.
Mhm.
There's no gray lines. It's a standard process throughout.
You may have covered this.
Mhm.
I may have missed this, but what do the two people that work for you, what do they do?
They're full-time recruiters, so they complete the full life cycle. So there's two different types of recruiters. One recruiter that doesn't do the full life cycle. So they stop after the offer letter is issued. So they're doing the phone screens, they're setting them up with the hiring managers, and they're extending the offers. Once that's done, they pass them off to the HR. Here we do full cycle. So they're doing everything from the phone interview all the way up into the offer letter orientation, and tracking them throughout their first 3 months, pretty much checking in with them, seeing if they need anything. So my recruiters have 7 to 10 positions each. They also do a lot of the HR paperwork for the benefits information. They'll help with time, PTO requests, and any documentation.
Got it. Wendy is asking about the quarterly meetings where everyone
Mhm.
gathers. How many branches do you have or do you operate in how many states? Are you bringing people from out of state?
So we cover our biggest market is in Philadelphia. We have Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, and we have a New Jersey market as well. So the New Jersey, Philadelphia market, they come together, and then Pittsburgh comes together up there, and we'll have them zoom in.
Got it. Okay. Do you, this is anonymous. Do you pay the agent if he has to drop the car?
Absolutely. Their safety is our number one priority. They have to get a picture of it on hook, but we pay them for every car that they pick up, regardless if they drop it or not.
All right. What have been, this is Jonathan, what have been the best specific retention practices that have contributed to IRS keeping employees? Have you, so it's a two-parter. Have you
Mhm.
surveyed your employees regarding what they like the most about the job, the company? And so what do you do?
We do surveys. We have a platform SurveyMonkey, so it's anonymous.
Mhm.
We ask them 3 things we do well and 3 things that we need improvement on. So we do that twice a year. And how we retain our employees, we listen to their feedback. Um, as silly as having office snacks in the survey.
Mhm.
Okay, I'll order office snacks, no problem. But better benefits, medical, dental, vision, a 401k. I implemented a 401. I was in that process of implementing that 401k plan. Um, Listening to your employees. You may not be able to do everything on their requests, but picking and choosing where you can.
Having um, it has an impact when your employees feel like they're heard, right?
Hmm.
Let's see. James is asking about HR software, which you mentioned that you do use an HR software. Which
Hmm.
one do you guys use?
So we just rolled out Clay HR. So that is an HR system. It does not include payroll. However, it integrates with our QuickBooks and Intuit for payroll. But we use Clay HR. Previously, we were using Paycor.
Okay, Clay, CLAY.
HR.
Okay, all right. Where do you look for new applicants for field work positions?
You can try pretty much anywhere. Our biggest source is Indeed.
Indeed.
Our Indeed, Craigslist will surprise you. You'll get some funny submissions, but as long as they're following the directions, um, we'll take a look at their application. It would be very important to put in this is agencies don't reach out, but also attach a resume to your application.
Okay. So part of the filtering process is if they follow the directions in
Yeah,
in the ad, right?
yes.
Yeah. Okay, Mike with NARS in Ohio. You mentioned a couple of times about sourcing from job fairs. Is
Mhm.
there any type or um, of sponsored job fairs that you target, for example, hosted by chambers of commerce?
We have done Careers USA. We have done actually the Baltimore Tow Show. So finding local industry events. We have a booth there. We have a huge sign that says we're hiring. We'll get a lot of funny questions like, oh, hiring here at a tow show? Yes. Where would you get hundreds of drivers under one location?
Great. JJ from Paramount, how involved is your HR department in the interview, hiring, and onboarding process versus the field managers and supervisors?
Um, so our field team knows that if someone were to ask them about an opportunity, they know where to direct them. So we're the ones that are doing that screening process. They're not interviewing people that just show up to the locations, whether it's at the lot or they meet them at a stop that they're at. They know where to direct them to our company page under careers so that they can submit an application so that we're the ones screening them.
Got it. Okay. Bria is asking, I recognize a lot of applicants are concerned about their safety. How do you go about reassuring new hires that they are safe in such a high risk industry?
Safety is our top priority. We tell them how they have to be aware of their surroundings, but also you're in communication with your team members, even if you're not on the phone with them and you don't see them. They're constantly touching base throughout the night, whether it's submitting portals, talking in various chats. They're always in communication. We also have the Samsara and the Third Eye. So we have GPS location of them, and we always have vehicles around them as well. We have our leads monitor the stops. So if someone stopped for an extended period of time without informing anyone, we check in on them. They know to do so.
Okay. Mike is asking, I'm searching for a recruiter as well. What industries did your recruiters work in before getting into the repossession industry?
High volume, high volume, but also transportation. Um, or my one recruiter actually was in the um, IT industry, but she loves the transportation side, but making sure that they're high volume recruiters. Also, if you want a full cycle recruiter, it's also important to identify that. Agency recruiters are also a great source. You have to make sure that their positions are not just find and fills, meaning they don't have to have any qualifications. They don't even probably see them before they get sent to a job site.
Got it. Okay. Have you have you identified any specific industry as the best profile fit for agents with no experience, like firefighters, retail? Have you, is that anything that you've tracked or recorded?
Looking for transferable skills. So even if they have no industry experience, looking for the transferable skills that can easily integrate with what you do. So driving positions, if their driving is a spotter overnight, have they driven for extended hours? Have they worked overnight? Are they comfortable getting in and out of the vehicle multiple times? Um, Security guards, it's uh, it's a hit or miss, honestly,
Okay.
because sometimes they're just content. Their job is to sit there and watch video. So are they going to get out frequently and check a VIN? They could just continue to drive on.
Okay.
So I would say we're tracking, but we haven't really identified exactly what industry is best. I would say look up keywords when you're sourcing.
Uh, Joan is asking about pay. So she says
Mhm.
our biggest problem is the pay. Can you explain your pay structure? Is it strictly commission based or a combination of other methods? I'm particularly interested in pay structure for the agents working in the field.
Yeah. So we just recently updated this. We have driver expectations. All of our drivers are 100% commission. So they are paid a flat rate based off the amount of cars that they bring in. They're expected to bring in a minimum of 75 cars per pay period. Um, if they fall under that, then there's progressive coaching, performance evaluation, and training is additional training as well. We have different tiers for bonuses based off the amount of cars that they're bringing in as well. So if you have a consistent 75 cars per pay period, but this other guy has 90 cars per pay period or even 100, they're going to get bonused a little bit differently because of the amount of vehicles that they're bringing in when this person's consistent.
Okay.
With, oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
We have increased our salaried employees as well, specifically at the lots, to combat the pay of others during COVID. So where they've increased their hourly rate to from like $12 and now it's $18.
Wow. Is there what's your full-time HR to employee ratio?
I wouldn't say we have a ratio. There's three of us who do
Okay,
the full-time employee relations for the entire company. So we have about 110 employees right now.
got it. All right. Jerry is asking, what have you identified as the best? Oh, already got that one. Best profile fit. How do you pay an agent for a drop fee if the client does not pay for the drop of the unit?
We pay them regardless if we get paid by our client or not.
Got it. Lauren is saying, I've mentioned wanting to set up at a job fair recently. Has that been successful when you attend the job fairs to find new employees?
It can be a hit or miss. We've received a CDL driver from the Baltimore Tow Show specifically. So it's really just seeing what's out there as well, seeing what the candidates are looking for, talking to the candidates. Maybe they're looking for something with benefit package or compensation that you guys aren't aware of. So just talking to the candidates and seeing on their end as well what's out there.
Okay, Lauren is asking, what is your pay period? How many hours per shift?
They are scheduled, our field agents are scheduled from Sunday through Thursday, 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. If they need to pick up 75 cars and they need to work extra hours on the weekend, that's when they do so.
Okay. Are you tracking hours for commission agents so that there's not an issue with overtime violations?
Yes, we are. I'll jump in on that one
Okay.
specifically because I'm getting text at the same time. Yes, we our drivers they self-report their hours and we track them in our system and we ensure that in our policies that we have the standard, the 40-hour week plus overtime far their pay far exceeds those numbers so that we maintain our compliance in the state of Pennsylvania and New Jersey both.
Thanks, Jeremy. Um, do you hire skip tracers?
Yes, we have four skip tracers on our team.
Okay. I think, well, we are right at the top of the hour, and I think we covered all the questions that were typed in the chat and the Q&A section. So I'll tell you what, we'll go ahead and end it there. But Kendall, thank you. Awesome information. Jeremy, thank you
Absolutely.
for putting this together and suggesting the content. This is great. Um, we'll have the replay posted to ARA's website in the next couple of days, along with Kendall's slide deck. Right? Kendall, you're still okay with that?
Absolutely.
All right. And I'll leave you with this. If you guys are planning on going to NARS and you haven't registered yet, please do so as soon as possible. The Signia room block is already sold out for Friday. Other days are still available, and there's also room at the Waldorf, but the room blocks sell out every single year, every year. just make sure that when you register for NARS and you secure your hotel rooms, only use the link that's on the NARS website, which is reposummit.com. Do not use there have been several phishing emails going out. Do not use those links. They're not associated with ARA. Only use the link that's on the reposummit.com website. And if you have questions or need help, reach out to us at info at truly-wow.com. Info at truly-wow.com. Everybody, that's it. Thanks for being here, and we will see you again next month. Bye, everybody.